Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello and welcome to Strategic Frontlines, the YouTube channel of Clause. And also, I believe this is going live on Gunner Shot, sir.
Yes.
So wherever you are, a very warm welcome to you, whether you are watching on the Gunner Shot or Strategic Frontlines. We have today a very eminent guest with us, General Shankar, who's located in Chennai and essentially steering a lot of defense initiatives of the Indian Army. And we have General Admiral Sinha, who is a well-known security and defense expert. Currently, he is with the India Foundation, and I believe you're also with other think tanks in Delhi. So he remains busy, keeps himself always in line with the current developments of security matters. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss something which is a hypothetical situation, right, sir? So, suppose this happens. It's a scenario of if, if scenario, and let us see as to does anything positive come out of this for us as India, or it is just a figment of my imagination or somebody else's imagination. Although there are some people talking about this, I think in the US also there is something like this happening where they are talking of India taking the lead. In fact, there was a statement once made that India should take the lead as far as Quad is concerned. So we have come up with this idea, and so what I'll do is I'll briefly set the stage by saying that it's a not a news. Right up in the beginning, I'm saying it's not a news, it's an what if scenario. And the what if scenario is, suppose the Quad headquarters was to be located in Andaman Nicobar Island. What will be the implication of this particular aspect on the India's security and the other countries which are there in this region? I'm referring to China, I'm referring to Pakistan, I'm referring to Bangladesh, I'm referring to ASEAN. So much, there are so many people, and including the US, of course. So if you look at this map, and this map is very self-explanatory, where are the key areas which people are looking at, and if in the center of this we have the Quad, then who all get impacted by it. You will see that I am not even showing the Bangladesh map, right? Although this is there in the topic of today, that what will be the implications on Bangladesh. We will discuss that also as we go along. But overall, it is essentially a discussion on the impact of such an event happening on the entire region as such. So, with that brief preview, what I feel is that yes, essentially China will be threatened. It will probably assume as an escalation and containment perception of China. In any case, they always talk about Quad in that perspective. The Chinese response may be a little hard if it is against India or any other player whom they feel is going to go against them, whether it is in the ASEAN region or whether it is India. Of course, India will be the primary focus. Then, what implication does it have for India in that context? Implications for Pakistan, I suppose Pakistan, it won't make major difference except for the fact that whatever hobnobbing it is trying to do in Bangladesh and this part of the region, given the fact that Munir had given a statement few months back where he said the next attack after Op Sindoor, I mean after Pahalgam, will be in from the east. So let us see how much of Munir is going to be effective in this particular security strategy of Pakistan. I think it will feel that it is a step taken to isolate him. Implications for Bangladesh, it's self-explanatory. Bangladesh is already contained from three directions by India. The fourth direction is the Navy. India itself is capable of containing it from the maritime domain, but adding a little bit of Quad into this, how does that impact Bangladesh? My sense it is it's immaterial, because he has to depend on an external force to really extricate him out of it. Advantage India, I would say here. As far as India is concerned, it is a strategic deterrence. I would put it that way. If we have this kind of a step, As far as Quad is concerned, it would mean a greater integration with the Indian security. I won't say security, but Indian this kind of a multilateral forum, which is Quad, as some kind of a balancing force for whatever is being done by China to try to, that old cliche word of string of pearls, but it does have enough presence now in the Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific. So therefore, it will be some kind of a counterbalance to that. As far as economic spin-offs are concerned, I think that, of course, is already happening. If we are more deeply integrated with each other, a lot of other issues which we are now facing with the US and the other partners would vanish. Lastly is about the disadvantages. Far too many. ASEAN might look at this as some kind of an Indian interference into that area, or Quad overbearance into this area, or even sovereignty aspect for India. There would be people who will spin this debate that our sovereignty will be at risk if we have such a step taken as part of a country's strategy. Diplomatically, also, we might find some kind of a push against us, especially from the Chinese and the South countries. And lastly, logistics strain would be there for India if you have to maintain such a Quad headquarter in Andaman Nicobar Islands. So, with this brief overview, I would first invite General Shankar. Sir, how do you look at this what if scenario? And how, especially, I would like you to focus on the Chinese angle, because that is something where we are almost connected both with the land and as well as on the sea. So, is there something new which might come up? So, over to you without wasting any more
Thanks
time.
a lot. Thanks a lot. At the outset, sir, my a very warm good evening to Admiral Shekhar Sinha, who's our senior colleague. We've learned a lot from him, and also thanks to General Dushyant for having called me over and to speak about this. I think this is not a what if scenario. This is one of the scenarios we have to really consider. Take a step back. The Quad has been positioned as anything else, many things. But fundamentally, the Quad has been thriving on military to military contacts and many military exercises. That's the first thing.
Yes.
Yeah. The second thing is that you look at the Bangladesh crisis. How did it start? If you look at the Bangladesh crisis, as the Bangladesh crisis kept going up, the Quad started losing its relevance. For the simple reason, America, China, and Pakistan had an interest, their own vested interest in Bangladesh against India. In fact, America came into Bangladesh not for India, basically for China. Because those things, without going into things, that is a moot point. You have to retrieve the situation. If you want to get USA on our side back, you have to give them something else. That's one. Of course, we are in a situation where the Quad itself is in the question mark in the American mind. That's the second point. The third point is the Australians and the Japanese are quite worried about it. They want the Quad. Whatever I have interacted with them, they want the Quad. Quad for them meant hell of a lot. In fact, one Australian said when when this was 2 months back, he says, "What happens to the Quad? What happens to us? India should take the lead to get America back in." So this is not
Absolutely.
a sentiment which you are the only first one to express that India should take the lead in the Quad. Okay, the Australians are the most worried, followed by Japanese. Take into consideration what's happening in the South China Sea today. And I wouldn't say South China Sea. Yeah, South China Sea, Taiwan Straits, and beyond in the East China Sea, whether it's in the Ryukyu Islands, Taiwan Straits, or against Philippines. I'll get to this, right? There is a problem there, and I am very sure that many people are missing India in this whole game. It might not be immediate, but that mental thing that look, India is there is missing in their minds. Even for us, we are in an adversarial situation in Bangladesh. And that adversarial situation, and today you take any YouTube channel, any writing, everything, everyone points the finger at USA. And for some funny reason, USA is against us, and they've gone towards Pakistan. So a lot of things can be said right here. Within India, we also have to understand, yes, at this point of time, both China and USA seem to be against us. But we have to make a choice. Who's the worst option in this? And
Yes.
you have to make a choice, and you have to sleep with the other devil. Okay? You have
That's
two
right.
devils, one you have to fight with, and one you have to sleep with. You don't have a third choice. No one else is going to supplant them. Whether you like it or not, you have a relationship with one devil, and that relationship is not going to run away. And that relationship will go for the next 50 years. I'm, I'm putting a timeline to it. Why? For the past 25 years, you've been taking a whole lot of equipment from them. Your complete strategic airlift is from them. And those aircraft will last for the next 30 to 40 years. Right? You can't run away from it. You can't have an adversarial relationship with USA at all. You might have a two-toned relationship. That's okay. You might have what shall I say, a seasonal relationship till Trump is there. But I'm sure when things happen, things will change. So, as against China, you don't have a friendship. Even now, if you look at many things, they're not for it. You look at the Chinese, writings, they're still against us. They don't want to give you technology. They want only a trade. Right? They're talking of, other day I read an article where the Panchen Lama started speaking about the Dalai Lama succession. They're still
Yes.
talking of, a lot of things. Their interest in Bangladesh, all that. So China is and they don't want to allow you to grow. As simple as that. So in this kind of a thing, how do you retrieve the situation back? So can I have the slides now? I'll put my viewpoint across, and then of course we'll see. This is something which I came out 3 days back in South China Morning Post. They say China needs original knowledge system on border history to counter West. Look, you have to look at how China is thinking. China feels it has a surplus trade balance with the world. Its technology is the best. Whatever is happening in terms of economy today is only seasonal, will turn around. So they are building an alternative narrative to their entire border stories. And if you see the trajectory of the India-China border and the narratives around it, a lot of manufactured facts have come in the past decade. And more are coming. And they have doing it in a plan for which we don't have an answer really. Okay. In terms of narratives. Okay. Then look at this. This article is very innocuous if you read it. This is actually an original one in Mandarin, but now this is translated. It came up in Guancha. It talks of Hainan Free Trade Port play in reversing the narrative of South China Sea. If you read through this, it's a pretty serious analysis. It lays out a thing that, look, Hainan will be the hub, and all the islands in South China Sea, and where they have now opened a club also in somewhere in between there, right, will be toll collection posts for South China Sea. So they want to make, after all, they've already put the 9-dash line. They want to start collecting tolls in some manner. They'll coerce people, and all to revive their economy, because there are very few other ways to revive economy. Or you get into a deal with them. This is their plan. This is their narrative. Today, you might poo-poo it off. You say, oh, how can you do it? We'll also do everything. But for whatever China has done, has the world done anything about it? Very little. So there is a issue. You have to look at the Chinese narratives very seriously as their long-term distant vision. All this is backed up by his plan, which Xi Jinping has spelled out in the SEO of Global Governance Initiative. And it's flowing out. If you look at it, these are the tributaries to the whole story. Already, they've put in a thing of what will be the post-World War, global governance system. Articles are coming out. They say, no, we are the victors of Second World War, so we should be part of the global governance system. They're they're bidding for headquarters of certain UN establishments to come to China. They have already floated something called the International Media Center. They say, no, this should be part of UN and it's headquartered in China. So there is a clear path which the Chinese are setting out. In this context, the Quad is important. Now, today, this is just about an hour back. I saw this an hour back, but this tweet has come out 9 hours back only. The ambassador of US ambassador to China, David Perdue, has given out this, and he says the Quad is a force for good XYZ. And he's taken all the 4 ambassadors there and he's put this out. There is some messaging coming around. We need to see it. There is from USA, there are 2 messages coming out. One is the Quad is dead. The other is the Quad is something which is needed. We have to play on this, and that suits our interests, right? How we play is it's a matter of how you look at it. Okay. So, and the fact that today they don't want the Quad is also temporary. I think it has to come back. That's the way I look at it. Because too much work has gone into the concept of Quad to wish it away. People say Quad is dead. I don't think so. And I want to highlight this, your scenario and expand it a bit. You spoke of just the, Bay of Bengal area and all that. I would like to look at it a little more. And if you look at it in the Indo-Pacific construct, the Andaman Nicobar Islands and Myanmar come into the center, geographic center. Okay. Now, given that, I feel from an Indian perspective, you have to think beyond. We are theaterizing X, Y, Z. You have to think beyond. I feel from the south, Galatia Bay, Car Nicobar, Port Blair, Diglipur, Azol, wherever you want, Azol, Mizoram, and Teju. All these have to be interlinked into a security network which can look after China. The China front is not Tibet only. Look after the maritime space here and here. We have to start thinking differently. You also have to add the 9 and 10 degree channel which goes south of the space between south of Minicoy, north of Maldives. These are the control points. All these have to be stitched together, and this demands theaterization. And if this is the center, because when you control these spaces. This is where America and China are trying to muck around. This is, of course, the international lane, the Malacca Strait, and the South China Sea. For all this, you need a structure. Where is the structure going to come from? After all, the US structures in Guam, quite far away, right? So if you can give one alternate structure, people will start seeing, fine. So what if China has a problem with us? Let it have. Is China stopping to do anything which is in its interest because India will feel bad? And if you are going to be a major power, the Australians have classified India as a major power. While yes. USA and China are supposed to be superpowers, you are a major power and the rest are all middle powers. So you have to start behaving like a major power. When are you still going to be sitting and worried about China? And take advantage of the fact that today China is locked in on many counts. He doesn't have the reach which he had once. So I think we need to rethink. Maybe if you think this is a very premature discussion, I don't think so. Unless we start thinking differently, unless we start thinking differently and throw up options, you will not come there. If you don't dare to imagine something freaky, the normal won't come.
Yes.
I mean, that's the way I look at it. I'm sorry I took a lot of time. Back to you. And I'll be very interested in what Vice Admiral Sinha talks about my mad hatting kind of a thinking which I've done here. Yeah, back to
The
you.
whole idea, sir, thank you very much. The whole idea of carrying out this discussion was to think something beyond the current narratives which are going around, and bring home certain aspects which might help us in looking beyond today. That was the whole aim, and that is why I had mentioned it that it is an what if scenario. But I'm glad that you are saying that it is not only a what if scenario; it's likely to be the future scenario or immediate scenario, which is likely to be confronted by us. Admiral Sinha, sir, I have few odd observations from what General Shankar has said. The first thing which he spoke about is essentially the Chinese angle, which is coming out more prominently from his discourse. So, how do you look at the Chinese activity in this region if this kind of a development takes place, especially from the point of view of a maritime aspect or maritime domain? The second issue which I thought you could comment upon, because you had an international experience more than I think both of us. This idea of slowly shifting the international governance to China, can this be contained by such moves? What we are trying to do, and the third aspect is the theaterization, the way we are discussing this whole issue. I think one area where ideally, a theaterization could materialize as far as India is concerned, it is the maritime domain with the least amount of internal frictions and discussions, and possibly the first step for a big military. And as you know, Mahan always said the power actually was controlled by people who control the seas, countries which control the seas. And traditionally also you would have seen the India's first foray was towards this side only. If you look at it from the Cholas era, etc., we forayed into this area. Of course, we also went up to Ethiopia and all. The point is, does this does this kind of a scenario will actually help us build on the theaterization argument and move our armed forces towards that direction? And if that is so, what all kind of resources would be required? After all, these are areas of interest as far as we are concerned, and Jan Shankar has already given out those aspects about shifting, making Myanmar the center and shift Myanmar and Andaman as the center, and shifting the focus both on either side of Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. So, over to you, sir, with these three, four points which you could comment upon over and above what you're going to say about this whole new scenario, or which I'm trying to develop, or which I'm trying to throw open to for discussion. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Gen Dushyant, for inviting me, and great to be back again with General Shankar. Good evening and very happy New Year to both of you. And
Same
General
to you
Shankar,
also.
very kind words to the audience as well, those who are watching. Now, first thing is not a hairband idea at all. Uh, I quite say exactly what General Shankar had said. Uh, and let us assume that we have overcome our issues with US, let's say. And now we are looking at it that we are now got back maybe a non-Trumpian era and we are back, everything is back. But
Yeah.
before I move any forward to China, as far as America is concerned, the sense that I'm getting with this day-to-day dramatics which goes on into White House, that the the White House is essentially only looking very seriously at the economics and the political equation with countries. In that, the president doesn't want any interference of the administration. So it's White House and White House. Whereas, as far as the security aspect is concerned and international order that we are talking about, that is essentially looked after by the Pentagon and the Secretary of State. Now,
Yeah.
these two people make these suggestions to the president. He doesn't say no. I think there is some tacit understanding that administration will take care of the, the security and other part, and the president will say yes to whatever they're doing, and he will look after along with the trade secretary and secretary of treasury and all that. So that is one sense that I get. As far as the quad, etc., is concerned, they will continue to function. It may not be at a very high pitch, at least for these next 3 years or whatever. It will not be at high pitch, but it will continue. As you know that Hexeth came here, and he extended our partnership, strategic partnership, for another 10 years, because the time was running out. So that will
Yes.
happen. But having said that, Quad at the moment is not linked to any security officially.
Officially, yes.
Whereas, yeah, no, there's nothing here, nothing to say. It says, maritime. There's no security architecture within it. However, you and I know, and I'm sure that our audience knows, that Malabar also consists of the navies of the same four countries which form part of
Yes.
the. And I won't like to name, but there have been two or three occasions on international fora that it has slipped out of the mouth of people that, linking is a very small job. You just require, one executive order. After all, Malabar is there for court by some very authentic people. But I just wish to leave it at that, because you and I know that it is there. But so therefore, shifting the quad headquarter or secretariat, it doesn't have a secretariat at the moment. Suppose
Yes.
start from Andaman Nicobar, and if you see the charter of the quad at the moment, actually doesn't matter where it is. It could have been at very Timbuktu. It could have been anywhere. But that's why it doesn't make a difference, and that is a diplomatic stand that we should take if we have a secretariat there. And I think it's not a bad idea at all. I said it's not an airborne idea. I am glad that it is coming from a very distinguished army scholar here, because I think that people have stopped looking far and wide. We tend to get concentrated onto that line of control and line of control and line of actual control and international border. No, that's not the only India. There we are defending that we don't lose any place, right? Whereas sea is expanding. There is no border. You can have your control to many places because our interests are, in the Gulf, in the African coast, in the South China Sea, in Pacific. We have economic interest, and it has been stated by the government that wherever there is an economic interest and it is being challenged, our navy will go. So it doesn't talk about it has been said by a chief of naval staff in an open forum on a 4 December, that
Yeah.
uh, press briefing that they have. So I really have no doubt, having sort of spent little time there, uh, whether theaterization should happen or not. Having pushed the letter the first time from IDS headquarters and getting all three chiefs to agree, including the air chief on file, which was, without sort of being very serious, that it was not a very easy job. And whether they have made up their mind to stay there or not, because I still keep hearing a lot of, after Op Sindur probably that, the Air Force did it alone and all that. But that is a separate discussion we can have. So I would say that the idea of having there, taking a diplomatic stand that it doesn't matter where it is because it is not nothing to do with armed forces. But for us, it is going to be a very important thing. The Chinese will react immediately. Coming back to what General Shankar was showing at Hainan, I was in a Hainan conference just about 2 weeks back,
Okay.
and it was on the ocean governance. Okay, this global security initiative is being broken into sectors. Now, what do they want in this? They want that because the UN is collapsing, because the International Court of Justice, the judgments are not making anybody happy. Basically, he's talking about himself, and therefore you should have a regional ICJ, right? And one region has to be South China Sea because it is lot of it is to do with maritime disputes. One probably will be in Pacific and one probably will be in the Indian Ocean. So they wanted to know. In fact, they've been trying to get this thing out of me for last 2 3 years. Okay,
Mhm.
and I have always said that if something like this China wants to do, you please put up this as a proposal in the General Assembly of UN. UN is not functioning; it is not dead. So we still follow UNCLOS, which is a UN charter. And
Right.
therefore, any changes to that, how will you get everybody on board? That's the only forum even now is UN. So kindly put it up in UN, and then I give two examples. I'm saying this, I'll take a little time, but just to support what General Shankar was saying. And I said, look, we have solved our maritime disputes in two ways. One is a bilateral talk, ultimately resulting into an agreement document, or if somebody was aggrieved, gone to ICJ, ICJ gave a judgment in which we lost 19,000 square kilometers out of 25,000 kilometers in dispute of the EZ, right? And our government was magnanimous. They said, no, give it to them. Let's not fight on this. We have enough EZ. Let them also do some, fishing and catch fish. You never know. They might come back to us only to do fishing for them because that country doesn't have so much of assets. I mean, unfortunately, they are in the boil at the moment, Bangladesh. So we gave it. So they were all Chinese were quite worried. This chap. I said, yeah, we ICJ is our doing. We are signatory to one clause. If they have given a judgment, I don't pick up this paper and I say no, I don't abide with. No, that's not correct. If you have signed on something, you better agree to that. So I support what they are into. They want to take on this legal aspect of governance of the ocean. So in global security initiative, governance initiative, they've broken down to maritime, well, land border, there's that 10, 15 headings. And maritime is one where, they've been trying to extract out of me the, oh, Indian chap has said yes, do it. And everything was being recorded and it is on the Global Times, on the TV channel, which I have not seen anyway. Coming back to General Dushyant, see, uh, we should we should just forget as to what China will think really, because China is on a wrong wicket as far as Indian Ocean is concerned, right? And therefore, to have the Quad Secretariat there and even a theater, some sub theater command or operational war room is a damn good idea, to be very honest, because once you put them there, then the reaction times in an event which is taking place closer to Malacca Strait and south will be
Yeah,
quicker because the
absolutely.
command at core, all big wigs will be sitting there to take a call.
Yeah.
And today's, the press being what they are, you will come to know immediately before even you. We already have a system at the moment existing as we talk now, that there are 7 areas in the entire Indian Ocean where either a ship or a submarine or a naval aircraft is on patrol 24/7. So we have that. That is how our MDA is quite rock solid, very, very robust MDA we have. And the process of linking it with the other MDA plots in the Quad countries is taking place. America had, given $5 billion, and that is going from satellite to satellite link, so that you have a Indo-Pacific data board. You call for the data for a particular area, it will give you. On paper, it is being done to see who's doing illegal fishing, within bracket meaning China, because 95% or 90% of entire world's illegal fishing, what is called
It's
IUU,
Chinese.
is Chinese boats. So
Yes.
it's not hidden. I mean, though China says yes, they do fishing on their own, but we all know none of the Chinese ships are doing fishing alone. They are doing anything but fishing, and if they are doing any fishing, it's fishing in troubled waters. So this is exactly what they're doing. So China has already started doing. They've made a law, that people are not to go there, not to go there. Some big thing has come out. I saw that one copy in Hainan. But how far will it be put into place? I don't know. What will happen to China? It will act as deterrence. Answer is yes. It will always, keep them very guarded. Shall I do this there or shall I not do this there? And China worries about the opinion of the world. It does worry. China shouldn't get a very bad name. And that's why they want that, whatever happens, he should legally justify it. And that's exactly what he's doing in South China Sea. But his legal is not an international legal. That is the
Absolutely.
problem. So I think that, As I said, let's say that we have overcome all the problems that General Shankar mentioned, and we are in a very happy situation that yes, Quad is about. And anytime, anytime we feel that the threat from the Chinese is likely to become military threat, then linking Malabar immediately to the Quad should be a foregone conclusion. You only require one line order and a one line statement by these four countries. And as far as I see, the administration people, Hegseth and Rubio and the guy who was in NSA earlier, they are hardcore anti-Chinese, people. Even the think tank, they were very, very hostile. Even now, they're very hostile. And one of the reasons why in the national security strategy document which has come out, that doesn't talk about China as a threat. That is because it has an economic impact, and America wants a lot of things from China right now, starting with magnets and the semiconductors of a particular thinness. So I would say that uh, this this will act as a catalyst to what the Americans actually want to do, and we have to be little more not aggressive, little more, what shall I say, proactive.
in
We
this
should be
regard.
more proactive in this year. And absolutely right, that entire thing is going to be panning out in the maritime domain. Because if you see on the land border, our land border, India will do everything to defend. Everything. It will not allow any even inch of land to go. I am quite confident, having spent very long time with the IDS headquarters, I see the, Army's thinking, and they are right. Army and Air Force fully committed to this, and whatever modernization is to be done, it must be done, because I think losing territory is the worst thing. That party will never, political party will never come back, and our people will be very aggrieved. In China, people are not so much aware about the affairs what is happening with India. Very few. Here, everybody is aware, particularly after Galwan, because people have a view. You look at the social media, you'll be surprised. Who all are making comment, you feel laughing. "Oh, kya samajh rahe ho?" That's one. Yeah. Okay. Now, coming back to what you mentioned about America and Japan, answer again is very big yes. Because the manner in which the American White House and the administration is treating the EU allies, uh, actually mistreating. The way they are handling their, it looks, that they are smaller states of, United States of America. They're smaller provinces. And actually, size wise, yes, they are. But the point is that nobody is happy. The Italian Prime Minister has openly said that if continues like this, I will quit EU. This is a statement just about a month back, in a Roman sort of. Similarly, the French and the Germans, who are actually the money basket of EU, the love affair between them has finished. There's, I mean, they are there because this of structure of EU. But how long will it stay? You know what is happening to Austria. You know what is happening to Hungary. These smaller countries are already on their way out. And therefore, I would say that this is the time when things are very, unstable, that we can add to this instability in the minds of the Chinese, that we are here. It becomes one more instability and threatening posture for the Chinese. And I would say that, as I said, I would very, very happily try to support this idea. And I'm quite agree with General Shankar. He has given fair amount of, the world affair. Yes, watching the Lakshadweep area, quite right, because that the channel 9, 10, whatever degrees passes from there. But the Navy has two things has been done. The
Yes.
Minicoy Island,
Minicoy,
Minicoy
yes.
is going to have an airfield,
Hmm.
and there is a naval unit which has been commissioned.
Yes.
Okay, and then that Jatayu or something they're calling it as Jatayu.
Jatayu,
Jatayu.
Jatayus.
Yeah.
Jatayu.
So yeah. So the infrastructure creation is going on for the Navy. So it will be. I mean, if it is a maritime issue, Navy will be there in the Joint Command, and Navy has always supported Joint Command. I personally, as I said, I just give you background drafting of the first paper, this, that, and getting all three chiefs to agree. So I would say that a good idea. It will keep China in check. ASEAN countries will not say very much, but they will have an apprehension in their mind. What does Quad do? What does Quad have for us? This is the question they have been asking. हमारे लिए क्या है?
Yeah,
आप यहाँ
absolutely.
आके
So,
you are only increasing the tension between you and China. You're forcing us to choose side, which is very difficult for us. Because as far
so
as security is concerned, they still feel that China is the threat, whereas
okay.
economy wise. So these are the
Oh,
points. That,
okay, so I think there is a general convergence since we've already spent about 40 minutes. And so, what we will do is the last round of today's discussion, I'll just throw out two questions and you all can give your views, because one thing which is emerging very clearly is that if our land borders are the anvil or the pivot, the hammer would become the maritime domain. Maybe that could be a good idea to project power, and time has come for India to project power. I mean, it's enough that we have been just telling that we are a inward looking country. We'll continue to see. Nobody respects a country. You can defend a country for 365 days. An attacker needs one day to breach you and cause harm to you. So unless we are on the aggressive side, we will not ensure a full fledged 360-degree security. That has been my experience at the tactical level, at the operational level, and even at the strategic level. So why not at the national level? We should start developing our strike arms wherever we are, whether on the land borders or whether we are on the maritime borders. My two questions, sir, and quick comments, and any concluding comments from both of you. The first question is, what is going to be the impact of all this on Bangladesh? Because Bangladesh was one of the issues which prompted me to actually think on these lines. The second issue is that, has its time come? If it is not a what if scenario, has its time come? And if its time has come, what should we do about it? Just these two questions, sir, and then we will conclude the discussions, because shorter discussions have more viewership. So first, Jan Shankar, and then
Yeah.
Sinha, because he just spoke. So over to you, Jan Shankar, sir.
Yeah, I think, if this happens, automatically Bangladesh will start quietening down because the outside influences have to reduce out there. It'll have a very positive implication on this. And as far as when it should have come day before yesterday, the way I look at it. Okay, the thing which I want to comment, which you made a very interesting point, and I'll spend 2 minutes on it. That's that hammer and anvil concept. Hammer and
Yes, yes.
anvil concept is not that the land borders will be the anvil and the maritime will be the
Hammer.
hammer. I think it's interchangeable, right?
Okay.
As much as the maritime borders or the maritime domain gives you space to operate from one end of the globe to the other. After all, we had interest in Venezuela also, and we were going there, right? Today, the land borders also have become flexible. They're no more, because if you're not going to defend them, you're going to go across. You have to project your power across. And I'm talking of all land borders across, right? And just to put it in perspective, the rebalancing you have done, if you read again, don't look at it from the way we think, look at it the way Chinese think. Okay, I'm looking at largely the Chinese because that's where you really have to be proactive. Pakistan and Bangladesh will handle, or Myanmar we can handle. Okay. The rebalancing which you've done and the infrastructure which you are building are changing equations on the LAC. And to a large extent, China is feeling constrained because they're getting fixed there. They don't have the capability of thinning out the LAC if they have to have a Taiwan option or something else comes up there. Okay. And today, they, for the first time in the past 1 year, 1.5 years, I've started reading of China adopting a defensive posture along the LAC. This might be surprising to many, but today they say they have a what if India comes 30 kilometers, this is what we'll do. 100 kilometers, this is what we have to do. 200 kilometers, this is what we have to do. You and I have been on the LAC ever since our lives. I've never heard of this,
Yes, you're right.
right? So the thinking is changing, and your proactiveness or going outward is a matter of mind. It's not a matter of just the land,
True. True.
right? You're thinking,
Right.
like what Admiral Sinha said. You're thinking. The maritime, domain forces you to think. But I think what has happened on the, land domain also forces you to think outwards. So if our thinking changes, I think this is all this thinking which we are now doing has to be implemented day before yesterday. I leave it at that. Back to you.
Okay. Day before yesterday, sir. That was a very interesting comment to finish his concluding talk. Over to you, sir.
My thinking would be that you see Bangladesh turmoil at the moment. Um, it has become a public, violence really, and
Hmm.
therefore I have a feeling that the present administration, I don't want to call it a government because it's not legal.
It's
The
not a
present
government.
administration, yeah. So the present administration is just not capable of handling it if the army is not being used, because police is a compromised force. Army is not coming out; they're still in the barracks, and therefore, to predict what will happen to Bangladesh by having our quad headquarter there, I suspect that the internal things are unlikely to change in Bangladesh. It requires a separate treatment. We can discuss that separately, but it requires a different treatment, and it can be done anytime. I mean, you people know better than I do. That it's not very difficult, but the India's the policy is that we don't go into any other country unless we are invited. So that, but those situations can be created. It's not a very big problem, but anyway, the point is that Bangladesh, because the quad headquarter goes there, my own suspicion is that they may not be very much change in the internal situation of Bangladesh, though the administration there, they may like to make some big diplomatic comments, that come on, this, that, because the point is not, the point is the violence has been initiated by the CIA. So therefore, the Americans will be very, they will still be keen in the present White House that the turmoil in Bangladesh continues and India has got a problem. So this is not unlikely to change, and it's a very serious problem which has been created and not likely to die down. There is much more than what we are seeing, but very much the CIA is involved, and China is also wary and very worried. And you never know that if you push him very hard, he might just, he's already doing rounds of Taiwan Strait, and President
Mm.
Xi rang up, you know, uh, American president rang up and he asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "No, we are just doing practice
Yeah.
firing and this." Whereas the Republic of China, Taiwan Navy guy, he just sent me all the photographs from there as to how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
aircraft are doing round and how many have been
Absolutely.
intercepted by their aircraft. So
That's right.
they're worried. Obviously, they're worried. So he said, "This is where we are in." He's the chief of staff of the so-called Central Command. So the point is that he might, if we do something at the moment, I mean, I'm just throttling back from quad headquarter being there, but moment we put there, one of the things the Chinese could do is to start their accelerate their activity on the Taiwan Strait and possibly around Taiwan. They will take over? No, I don't think they will fight for it. They want to win without fighting a war. That is fundamental. They'll not fight. They will continue going on. So I think the Chinese will be positively be shaken up. There is no doubt, but we should not worry about that. Just because he is going to Taiwan, that is problem of America and the Chinese, not our problem, to be honest. So this is what I would say.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I think we've had a very long discussion and various issues were covered in this particular discussion. I feel that yes, this is going to be a reality very soon. When it happens, how it happens, what are the conditions for that, and that will be only the future which can tell us. But overall, I feel based on the discussion which both of you have given, it's a positive development overall for India. There would be some internal challenges such as sovereignty debates, etc., which might have to be overcome. Should we take this particular step? That's something which I'm sure we can work upon it. Aishwarya, can you take on some questions which are of interest? First of all, thank
Yeah,
some people have.
Dushi,
Yeah.
I'll quit because I have another commitment
Okay.
immediately after this.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Okay. Most of the
Thanks a
questions
lot.
are for most of the
Yeah,
questions are for Admiral Sinha, and the army one
yeah,
I'll take it
I'm
on.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Please take it on. So
Right.
thanks a lot, sir. I'll keep meeting you, and yeah,
Some people have donated. So just say thank you to them, sir. They have donated
Thanks a lot. I think they've donated, given,
some
gifted channel
memberships,
from
etc.
memberships. Thanks a lot, Kevar, for this
General,
generous thing of you.
General Dushyant, I think
Yeah.
General Shankar should organize something in Chennai for the clause where, some put some maritime issues or IR issues. I don't know.
Why not? So anytime,
No, sir,
Sure,
Dushyant has
sir.
been
anytime,
very kind.
anytime I'm prepared to do it.
Dushyant has
So
been
you
very
just
kind.
let me know, I'll do it.
He takes me
Sure enough,
along
sir.
to virtually every outstation trip. He does.
Yeah. So Aishwarya, can we just take on some questions?
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Right, sir. I think Ramki has asked a question. Good evening, sir. Asking Admiral Sinha, sir, with three floating carriers and two stations, isn't that Bharat should go all out to secure all slocks, including two mouths of the Babel, Mendab, and Malacca?
Good evening, and thank you for this question. I think it's a very logical question for Navy to having three aircraft carriers. Now, let me tell you that are these slogs protected or not? The answer is yes, because that is the Navy's primary function, to make sure that sea lanes of communication are not endangered, and not only for India but for the world, because 50% of of the world's trade actually is in Indian Ocean region. So I had just mentioned, if you recall, that we have mission based deployment of the Navy 24/7, 365 days into seven locations in the Indian Ocean, either a submarine or a aircraft or a ship. It will be there, and plus, of course, we have hired some satellites or the drone. Okay, all these remain on task. So we know exactly who is coming, who is going. In fact, there was a time when the warning used to be given from all ships that we are watching you. You are entering Indonesia, we are watching you. So that itself puts a little bit of fear. So
Yeah.
Babel Mandab, yes, and Malacca, in these two places, the activity of the Indian Navy is higher than other places, even in peacetime. So be assured that your salience of communication emanating or exiting from these two places are 100% sure. Anybody secure. Anybody who tries to hinder it, he will it will be at his own peril. That's all I can say. So don't have to have those carriers. You have a carrier, but carrier are for many more things. So power projection, your neighbors are there who are looking at you all the time for we have a Colombo security situation. We go and support the African countries. Now we are having a tie-up with the Chileans. So I would say that uh, aircraft carrier, yes, it helps because it is a extended eye of the Navy. Aircraft take off, these helicopters and fighter, and they make sure that nobody, people see you that I'm here. The naval forces are to prevent a war. You have enough deterrence that people don't fight with you. I mean, that is how the Navy's whole theory works all around the world. If the Navy has to fight, then it will be almost a concluding chapter, to be honest.
Yeah. Aishwarya, any other question which is worth being put up? Yeah. So China been aiming our adversaries without worrying about our sensitivities. Taiwan and others need our help. Is it time that we go ahead and arm whomsoever, example Taiwan. Uh, well, my answer to you is that Taiwan is already having enough help on its hand, and India has its hands full as far as security is concerned, both in the maritime domain and in the land domain. What is needed for India is a complementarity of the entire security scenario in the Indo-Pacific, for which we have the Quad as one of the uh, alternatives when required. As of now, Quad is a economic kind of a platform, but it can, like Admiral Sinha said, on a short notice, Malabar can transform into an operational thing rather than only being a training and an interoperability instrument. So I think we have to first secure ourselves. We have to first arm ourselves. We have two major adversaries on our northern and the western borders, which will demand a lot of our interest, and we have a huge maritime domain to look after to ensure that our supply lines, supply chains are secure while we carry out any major war related operations, because they need that sustenance. Line of communications cannot go, but it's not only on the border, it's along all 360 degrees. So I think that should answer your question. Any other question, Ashwarya? Okay, so I think, sir, we have finished well. And
Can I add one
okay,
point to what you said? No, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Gen Dushyant is absolutely, all. And you said that we are selling weapons to friendly countries already.
yeah.
We have given
Philippines,
Philippines very friendly to us. Vietnam might be buying, Indonesia might be buying. So
yeah,
those are the and these kind of weapons are not sold to anyone. They are sold
absolutely,
only to with whom you have a very deep strategic relationship. But Taiwan doesn't have, because Taiwan we don't recognize as a country.
absolutely, yeah,
We one China
absolutely.
policy, right? But arming, they can't handle what they have already. And if as complementarity is what's a good word that General Dushyant has used, complementary things, uh, you know, that possibly will happen if the situation gets worse.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say
So
at the moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So thank you very much, sir. I think we've had a very nice and an interesting discussion, a new idea, a new thought process. People would have got to know as to, we are not just banking on the current. We are also looking at in the future. There will be more such ideas coming from Cloth and our distinguished fellows. So watch out for that. And thank you very much to our audience. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Over to you, Ashwarya.
Thank you, Dushyant. Bye.